Jean and Justin, a couple deeply in love and well-known musicians in their small town, begin working on a song called Die with a Smile. Late one night in their home studio, Jean wakes from a vivid nightmare about the world ending. She tells Justin, who reveals he dreamt the same. Unsettled, they pour their emotions into the song, unknowingly summoning something sinister. As they record the chorus, strange whispers overlay their voices on the playback. At first, they dismiss it as a technical glitch. But when Justin tries playing the song alone on his guitar, the whispers persist, now layered with faint sobs. Jeanne feels watched and notices her reflection in the piano mirror smiling back at her, even when she isn't. A strange, shadowy figure appears in their dreams that night, offering them eternal fame in exchange for finishing the song. Desperate for a breakthrough in their struggling music careers, they dismiss it as a subconscious manifestation of their fears and pressures. But Justin begins humming the final verse in his sleep, unaware. The next day, they realize the whispers in the recording are growing louder. They try erasing the file, but it reappears, intact, on every device they own. When they attempt to record something else, the instruments play Die with a Smile on their own. Jean insists they stop, but Justin feels compelled to finish. Friends visit the studio for a jam session, and Justin plays the haunting melody. As the song progresses, one of the friends begins to scream and collapses. The others run, but the house locks itself, forcing them to listen until the final note. The survivors flee and spread rumors that Jean and Justin's studio is cursed. Shunned by the town and desperate to break the song's hold on them, Jean tries smashing the piano, but it reforms overnight. Justin, now obsessed, becomes distant, practicing the song repeatedly, his body wasting away. Jean dreams of the shadowy figure again, who cryptically says, "Finish it, and you'll be free." Jean uncovers the origin of the melody in old folklore, a curse composition known as the Requiem of Binding. Those who complete it are trapped between life and death, endlessly performing for unseen forces. She begs Justin to stop, but he has already written the final verse, his eyes glassy and lifeless. The couple is forced to play the song together as the studio transforms into a decaying, otherworldly concert hall. Faceless mannequins fill the audience, silently watching. As they sing the final verse, the mannequins rise, applauding, their hollow hands echoing like thunder. Justin collapses mid-performance, his spirit vanishing. Jean gasps awake in the studio, drenched in sweat. The room is dark, save for the faint, otherworldly glow of the piano. She calls for Justin, but there's no answer. Her voice echoes unnaturally, reverberating like it's trapped in a cavern. The room feels unfamiliar, larger, infinite, and suffocating all at once. When she stands, the floor creaks under her feet, but instead of wooden planks, it's a dark, glossy surface that reflects her face, her expression hollow, her eyes dull. She approaches the piano, its pristine surface untouched by the decay she had seen the night before. Carved into the wood is an inscription, "Play or be forgotten." The whispering voices surround her now, overlapping in an unbearable cacophony. She covers her ears, but the whispers grow louder, forming words. Finish the song. Finish the cycle. Desperate, she tries to leave, running toward the door. But each step takes her back to the piano, no matter how many turns she makes. She finally collapses in frustration, her knees hitting the cold, reflective floor. "I don't belong here," she cries. The shadows shift, coalescing into the familiar figure of the man who had haunted their dreams. His form is indistinct but menacing, his glowing eyes fixed on Jeanne. "You made your choice," he says in a voice like cracking ice. "The song binds you. You must keep it alive. Where is Justin?" Jeanne pleads, her voice trembling. The figure gestures toward the piano. In its reflection, Jeanne sees Justin slumped over the keys, his form barely visible, as if he's fading from existence. Her heart aches as she calls out to him, but he doesn't respond. "You can still save him," the figure says. "Play the song. Feed the audience." Jeanne looks up to see the faceless mannequins seated in the corners of the room. They are motionless, but their presence feels suffocating. She realizes they've been watching the entire time. Tears streaming down her face, she sits at the piano. As her fingers hover above the keys, she hesitates, knowing that every note she plays will pull her deeper into the curse. But the sight of Justin's lifeless form compels her forward. The moment she plays the first note, she feels the air leave her lungs. Her body moves on its own, her voice joining the haunting melody. The whispers fade, replaced by applause from the mannequins. The studio seems to shrink around her, pulling her closer to the piano. As the final note fades, the shadowy figure looms over her. "Welcome to eternity," he says, his voice dripping with malice. Jeanne looks down to find her reflection smiling at her a hollow, unrecognizable grin. She tries to scream, but no sound escapes. The piano calls her back, and she realizes the horrifying truth. She is now part of the song, bound to the melody forever. Years after Jeanne and Justin's disappearance, their house looms abandoned at the edge of town, overrun with vines and decay. Locals whisper about the haunting melody that seeps from the ruins during the witching hour, a tune so sorrowful it feels like a cry for help. Those brave enough to approach swear they've heard a faint voice singing "Die" with a smile accompanied by a ghostly piano. Musicians from across the country hear rumors of the song's mystical power. It's said that anyone who completes the cursed composition gains fame beyond measure, but at a terrible cost. The allure proves too strong for some, and over time, a few dare to enter the studio. None are ever seen again. Inside, Jeanne is a pale shadow of her former self, bound to the piano that trapped her soul. Her once vibrant love for music has been replaced by despair, as she is forced to play the same melody over and over for an audience of silent, faceless mannequins. They applaud with eerie synchronicity at the end of every performance, their hollow claps echoing endlessly. One night, a young musician named Abby arrives, lured by the promise of stardom. She steps inside the house, her curiosity overpowering the warnings she's heard. The air is heavy, thick with the scent of mildew and old wood. The piano sits in the center of the room, pristine despite the decay around it. Abby touches the keys, and a chilling cold spreads through her body. Jen's ghostly figure materializes, her hands hovering above the piano. "You shouldn't have come," she whispers, her voice trembling. "It won't let you leave." Abby tries to back away, but the door slams shut. The shadows of the room deepen, and the mannequins emerge from the darkness, taking their seats. The cursed melody begins to play, not by choice, but by compulsion. Abby's hands are pulled to the keys, and her voice joins Jen's in the mournful song. As the final verse approaches, Jen's hollow eyes meet Abby's. "Forgive me," Jeanne whispers. She plays the final notes, sealing Abby's fate. The next day, townsfolk find the house undisturbed. Only now, the whispers from within are joined by a second voice, harmonizing sorrowfully with the first. And so, the legend grows, claiming new victims, each lured by the promise of fame, leaving only their voices to haunt the cursed piano. The melody of Die with a Smile plays on, its mournful notes echoing forever.